Hey everyone, welcome back to this Flutter and Supabase series. Let's continue on to work on the authentication. If you haven't watched that last video, we set up the Supabase client. We get our Supabase URL and Supabase key from our project settings in supabase.io. And then we set up some basic get logic to query the API and get the movies. So I'll link that down below. If you haven't seen that yet, you are going to want to check that out first. But today we're going to be working on the authentication piece. So we can go ahead and jump into, authentication tab right here. And I guess this is all the settings that you can enable. So we are not going to do any of the OAuth providers none of the external ones. We're just going to do the basic email sign up and login. Here you have templates that you can pre-configure. That way, for example, if you want to send your email confirmation, you can do some HTML here to configure what that email looks like for the user. I'm guessing this is kind of like a built-in parameter for GoTrue, the library that Supabase is using for authentication. So you probably don't want to change this right here, but you can probably change the rest of the email template, maybe add your logo or whatever else you want to do. Same thing for these other ones down here. This is for I think this is for the row level security policies for your tables. So this is our movies table that we created last time. This is a profiles table that I was kind of playing around with. And then this is the users tab. Right now we have no users, but it's kind of neat that they have this little invite here. Pretty similar to Firebase. They're kind of trying to keep it consistent, and I really like that. So we're not going to do this. We're going to actually set it up in code. So as always, we can go down to the API tab and look at the documentations for authentication. So this is just the same as we did last time, setting up the client. And then, oh, I guess that's it for that. We can probably, yep, so user management. So here's some of the sample code that they give you for sign up, login, and then we're not going to do the login with Magic Link or the third-party OAuth. We're just going to do the basic user sign up and then user login, and then we'll probably do a query to get the user, and we may do the logout and all that in a later video, but depending on how long this one gets, it'll kind of depend on that'll be the deciding factor on how much we go into the authentication piece on this video. So the first thing I want to do, let's get that debug banner off. So we got that hidden there. And then we probably want to set up a Singleton type instance of our Supabase client. There's a couple ways you could set up a Singleton in Dart, and they're all pretty easy, but I like to keep it basic and dumbed down. So I found this injector library. Again, if you search Singleton up here or something along those lines, you'll find several libraries. Just make sure it looks somewhat reputable and has. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this in. And what injector is, it's basically a mini dependency injector library, so that way we can set up our Singleton by registering it in our main.dart. So we're probably gonna want to do something similar to this right here, and then we pass in the client into there. They got some good examples here, but basically to get the reference of the injector instance, you can just do injector.app. You may need an import app instance, and then we can go back to the register dependency. So we're going to do register Singleton. There it is. I just needed to keep typing. So we're only going to register. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little wider. we can pretty much go ahead and move this down here because we don't need these global variables anymore. So then whenever we want to reference our Supabase client, what we can do is do injector. Let's go back to the example. We can do injector.get and then we pass in the type. So we get an error here for our home page. And that's because it was referencing that final variable, the global final variable that we had for Supabase client. So now we can do injector dot import app instance dot get, and we pass in the type. Semicolon. Sorry. Okay. So I think everything should be working now. If we go over here, do a refresh. Maybe it's not quite working. Let's see. There we go. Just needed a full refresh. Okay. We can go ahead and remove our reference here to main.dart. And then now we want to get started on the authentication. So for that, we're going to create another page. We're going to call it login page. Then we're going to want to create a sign up page. And then we're going to go ahead and create a splash page. Okay, so the splash page will act sort of as our loading screen page where we can pull in all of the information that we need for the application to start if the user is authenticated. And if the user is not authenticated, we're going to redirect them to the login page. And if they're authenticated, we'll go to the home page. So splash page. Then we can go ahead and implement the init state method. We'll run some of that initialization logic to verify if the user is authenticated or not. And then the Supabase client has this auth variable or property here, and we can attempt to get the user from here by calling user. And so it says it returns the user data if there is a logged in user. So we can assume this is going to be null if the user is not authenticated. So if user is equal to null, then we can redirect to login. Okay. Otherwise, we can go ahead and redirect to the home page. Okay. So we want to go ahead and jump into our login page.dart file and create our login page. And then here we're just going to create a basic form. So probably just two inputs and a sign in button or login button. And race button has been deprecated. I'm not super familiar with a lot of these deprecations on Flutter 2. Let's see. Elevated button. There we go. So nice of them to include that on there. So we'll go ahead and add the child. So I recommend you guys check out some of these form libraries that are here in pub.deb. So there's a really similar one that behaves a lot like Angular. It is let's see, is it reactive forms? I have played around with this one and I really enjoy it. I highly recommend you guys check it out. But you guys can, if you guys are familiar with Angular 2 plus, 100% recommend you guys check this library out because it is almost one-to-one syntax of how Angular reactive forms work. But for this, we're just going to keep it pretty basic. Okay, so we assign the controllers here, so that way on the login we can check. We can go ahead and get these values from the controller and pass them into our Supabase client login method. So again, we'll do injector dot get Supabase client and auth. We'll need an import on Supabase client dot login. Is it login or sign in? Sign in. There we go. So okay, we got string email and string password. So email, it's going to be email.text. Is it just .text? Yep, that's the value. And password.text. Okay. And this is probably, yep, this is an asynchronous method. So we're going to go ahead and want to switch this to a future and add async to our function. And I think this looks pretty good. We can probably go ahead and copy this. Well, let's just go ahead and start the sign up widget page. And we can, this is kind of what I mean, we can probably copy most of this from the login page. The only things that'll change a little bit is that we'll have a confirm password. So we'll want to duplicate this password variable. Confirm. So we'll need another input field here. We'll call it confirm password. We'll call this sign up. And then we'll rename that to sign up. So instead of calling the sign in method, as you can imagine, we'll call sign up. And it takes an email and password again, but this one it's not named parameters, it's just index parameters. So we'll get rid of the name right there. We should probably validate that these are the same, so we can probably go ahead and do that. Okay, so it'd been a minute since I had done the actual Flutter forms, because again, I've been using that reactive library. So I went ahead and looked at that documentation here. So it looks like we just create this form key, and we can go ahead and assign this key to a high-level form widget that we can place on top of all our inputs. So we can just wrap the column here with form, and we'll pass in key. We'll give it that form key variable, and then we can go ahead and add validation logic here. Do a basic function here, so we'll do value, and we'll do if value is equal to null, or if value dot is empty. Again, you can go to pub.deb and probably find a library that has a bunch of validator methods, like for email and all sorts of cool stuff. But for now, we'll just do a basic kind of is required type of thing. So please enter valid email, otherwise we return null. And then we'll probably want to do the same thing for these ones down here. Well, at least for this one, for the I think we got some syntax off. For the confirm password, we can actually go ahead and fetch the password variable and compare them. So if value is not equal to password.text, return password, or actually confirm password does not match. We'll just go with that. We got some pretty basic validation, and what's nice now is we can use the form key to check if it's valid before we send this through. So we can do if let's see, there it is. Form key dot current state validate. I don't think I have the null safety for Dart right now. I know it's pretty new and I probably need to start using it, but I'm still not super familiar with it, and I don't want to start implementing that while trying to do videos at the same time. So if it's valid, returns true if there are no errors, so that's what we want because we want to sign up if there's no errors up here. If it's not valid, then you should see this error message below the input, so that should be good enough for error handling. Now the last thing we want to do here is probably hook up the splash page to be the first widget into the application. So that way, when the app loads up, it goes here and it does this pretty basic auth check. We got this comment here to redirect the login, so we'll do replacement actually, and we'll do replacement on both of these because we don't want to be able to hit back into the splash page. And the last thing we want to do here before we even hook up the splash page is something I forgot real quick. We probably want a button to go to the sign up page. Don't have an account, sign up, and we'll probably change this to a text button. And let's hook up the splash page on our main. And we can go ahead, we're probably going to want to do a full restart on this. So there we go. Okay. Something weird happened. Let's go ahead and clear that and do another restart. Make sure we have no errors. Nope. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, okay. So we want to wrap this in a future that microtask. Reload that. And there we go. We may need to wrap our forms here in the safe area. There we go. So that way it doesn't, the status bar up here doesn't hide part of the widgets. We could probably add a padding here as well. I mean, you can start getting fancy pretty quick. Let's go ahead and do the same thing up here on our sign up page. Let's go ahead and wrap it with a safe area. And then add some basic padding. And I think I forgot to hook up, so I can tell that I forgot to hook up the confirm password here because it's got the squigglies that it's not used anywhere. So we can go ahead and put that in there. and it should be ready to go. So again, we'll refresh, and it goes to the splash page. We can add a delay here just to show that it is doing that. Delayed duration seconds, and let's go 5. So that way you guys can see that, you know, technically you could have way more logic here for like pulling in user data and related data to the user, etc. So let's go ahead and reload. You guys will see, oh, it looks like it's not centered correctly. We can probably fix that. Yep, and then it goes to the login page. If you don't have an account, you can go to the sign up page, and then we can add a app bar. So iOS would not work here to go back with, so we can add an app bar here pretty easily. Sign up. Then we hit back, and we're back to our login. Okay, so let's see. We can go to this website that I like to use, Temp Mail, and you can get a temporary email address, which is really handy for just trying things out. Because you can wipe it out or come back in a few days and it'll be completely different. So it's just perfect to not get a bunch of spam on your actual email. So we'll do So what happened here, guys, was that I was being dumb. As you can probably tell, I was trying to log in where I still needed to actually sign up with this email. I tried a couple different things until I finally figured out that I was just being an idiot. So the email is fine, the password is fine. I added some try-catch logic so that I could see the error from go true. And the error just says invalid email or password, which I think is pretty counterintuitive. It should actually say no, this is a email does not exist or user does not exist or something along those lines instead of saying invalid email and password, because that leads me to believe that it's probably due to like the format of the email or the format of the password, something along those lines. But I don't know. I think that's just, in my opinion, a bad error from on their end. But we figured it out. So if you go, if we just do a snack bar or a toast for that error that comes back from go true, then you get some pretty nice basic error handling, and kind of let them do the logic of the error, and you can just display that error. It's not the best, again, because the error is not the best, but you guys get the idea. So once I figured that out, I switched back to the sign up page, and then from there I actually was able to create the user successfully, as you guys will see here in a second. Again, sorry about that, guys. Without even making an account first, so that makes sense. That error really should be like email does not exist or something like that. I think that would have been a lot nicer than invalid, because invalid leads me to believe that it's like a formatting issue. But while we're here, let's go ahead and obscure the password. Obscure text true, and we'll do the same on the sign up page, because why not? Okay, so we don't have an account for this guy, so we have to create one. And we'll go ahead and paste that email again. Oh, okay. I still have that pasted, copied. We'll do the same password. And we don't have any checks there, but we'll assume that worked. Then we can do a login. It says email not confirmed. Okay, that's pretty cool. So we got that email here. That was pretty quick. Confirm your sign up. So I'm guessing we just click the link here. And so if we were on web, this is where it would redirect to, and then the user would be signed in with that token coming in. Do with myself. okay, there we go. But for right now, I think we're good. So we probably can just add a sign up button here on our homepage, or sorry, a sign out button. So we can go ahead and probably, instead of returning this list view, you can return a column, children, and then let's return that list view in there. And then we'll do a button, an elevated button, which will be our sign out button. Sign out. And I'm guessing it's because we have the list view inside of the column. So I think we need to wrap this in a single child scroll view. And probably need to wrap. Oh, okay, sorry, I messed up the inputs here. So we can go ahead and pass that there. Okay. And it looks like we may still have an error here. We'll just throw it in a container here and give it a max height because I don't feel like dealing with these layout issues. Okay, so we got our sign out button. And we can just go ahead and navigate back to the splash page. So push and remove until. We'll do material page route. Oh, I can't see. Context. And we'll return the sign up page. And then I believe this function just returns false, and then that, I think that means basically like clear the whole stack of the router. So we can go ahead and try that out. Yep. So it went back to the, oh, that was meant to be splash page. Okay. So we went to the wrong page there, so we had to refresh the app. But we shouldn't be authenticated anymore, so we should go to the login page. Yep, so we go to the login page, and we can go ahead and get the email from Supabase. So we can log in. Oh, okay. Did I type it wrong? Oh, I have, oh, okay, so I accidentally tab a lot, and on the simulator it adds a space there. So you could add a trim there on your text input if that helps. So we're signed in, we sign out, it goes to the splash page. So kind of like takes it back to the root of the application, and then it goes back to the login page. So I think that's good for now. We have our login and sign up working. So I think after this, we may do the profile or a to-do list or possibly a to-do list. Just because I think with that one, we can much more easily play with the real-time client, which I think is where things can get really, really fun. If you guys want me to go more in depth into the authentication, I certainly can. Please just let me know in the comments, and I will dive deeper into the documentation, especially with like the forgot password or reset password and the templates here. You guys just let me know how deep you guys want me to go with that. Otherwise, I'll switch to the real-time client because I think that's what probably the majority of you will want me to play play around with, especially when we get down to the nitty gritty with the row level security and doing all sorts of cool stuff with making sure that the users are only allowed to fetch certain data or save certain data based on their roles or permissions. Okay, real quick, guys, please like and subscribe if you guys like this content, and let me know in the comments what I can do to improve on and what you guys want me to work on next. I may create some reusable authentication components and put them up in a Git repo so that everybody that uses Flutter and Supabase can reuse these authentication components. I'll just have to clean them up a bit, but let me know if you guys are interested in something like that or whatever else you guys would like me to explore. So please like and share and subscribe. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye.